Hello, everybody. The room hummed with the soft clatter of cups and quiet laughter, a familiar warmth wrapping itself around the corners of the old cafe, as if it had always belonged there. Ah, hang on, Jack, a voice called out, light and teasing. Haven't seen you in a while. Jack turned, surprised, and smiled with a mixture of nostalgia and mild embarrassment, as though time had slipped past him unnoticed and left him slightly behind. You and Peter must be really hitting it off, someone added, leaning in with curiosity that felt both friendly and a little intrusive. Jack shrugged, easing into the rhythm of conversation. Actually, my days are free, he said, though there was something uncertain in the way he said it. You know Peter, he has his classes in early European culture, and he is a falconer in training at the Renaissance Fair. The table erupted in soft laughter, not cruel, but amused in the way people are when they encounter something delightfully unexpected. He wears tights, Jack added, shaking his head as if still trying to process it himself. Kinda put me off at first, but now I dig it. Across the table, someone scoffed lightly. I do not get it. It is just a bunch of smelly hippies running around eating giant turkey legs. The comment lingered in the air, playful but edged with disbelief. Another voice chimed in, carrying a tone of exaggerated seriousness that only made the moment more humorous. I was shot at so people could do that. The absurdity of the statement settled over the group, followed by a ripple of laughter that softened everything. Life, however, had its way of shifting tone without warning. Well, looky here, Dan muttered later that afternoon, holding up a letter with the same suspicion one might reserve for a bill or a complaint. It was from the city of Landford, stamped with bureaucratic authority that seemed to carry weight even before it was opened. I know what that is, he said, narrowing his eyes. Clean up your yard, or we will do it. But when the envelope was finally opened, expectation gave way to surprise. It was not a warning. It was a permit. A permit to start construction on a backyard chicken coop. The shift from dread to excitement was almost immediate, like clouds parting after a brief storm. Oh, I waited at the mailbox for 2 weeks, Jackie exclaimed, her voice bubbling with triumph. And it comes today? This is going to be great. Dan was less enthusiastic. His expression caught somewhere between confusion and reluctant amusement. How big do you think our egg budget is? He asked dryly. But Jackie had already moved on, her mind racing ahead into a future filled with fresh eggs, self-sufficiency, and a small but meaningful sense of control over life's unpredictability. You will not even know it is here, she insisted. I will handle everything except, of course, building it. You would have to do that. And so, like many ideas that begin with a spark of enthusiasm, the plan took shape not through logic, but through momentum. The children were brought into it next, their excitement immediate and unfiltered. Wouldn't coming home be even better if you had your very own chicken coop? Jackie asked, her voice bright with anticipation. The reaction was exactly what she had hoped for. We are getting a chicken coop, Mary cried, eyes wide with delight. I want that so bad. The chicken was named before it even existed. Cornflakes, Mary declared, hugging the idea as though it were already real. I love her so much already. There was something deeply human in that moment. The way imagination could create attachment before reality even caught up. Dan sighed, the sound heavy with resignation, but softened by affection. Fine. I will build you a chicken coop, he said. And just like that, the decision was made. Meanwhile, life carried on in quieter, more complicated ways. Becky sat with a magazine quiz in her hands, its glossy pages promising clarity but offering only more questions. Are you financially ready to start a family? It asked, as though such a thing could be measured in simple answers. She laughed at first, a small, dismissive sound, but the laughter faded quickly. I know it is just a dumb quiz, she admitted, but I am really stressed about being able to afford a baby. The questions felt relentless. Do you have 6 months of emergency savings? Who has that? She muttered, shaking her head. I am a single working mom. I am going to need daycare, insurance, baby furniture. And that is not counting unexpected things. The word unexpected lingered, heavy with implication. Like what? Someone asked gently. Becky shrugged. I do not know. They are unexpected. When she finished, The result was not surprising, but it still stung. I am completely financially unprepared to have a baby, she said quietly. The words felt final. As though they had closed a door she had not even realized she was trying to open. Yet life has a way of balancing fear with small, unexpected victories. Look how much money you are saving by not drinking while you are pregnant, someone pointed out. Becky blinked, caught off guard. The numbers were startling when spoken aloud, enough to make her pause and reconsider, even if only for a moment. You are doing really good not drinking for the baby, they added. How many days has it been? 21 brutal days. Becky answered, her voice carrying both pride and exhaustion. Each day had been a quiet battle, fought not with dramatic gestures, but with small, steady choices. Elsewhere, conversations unfolded that revealed different struggles, different perspectives. Andrea, once so certain of what she wanted, now found herself overwhelmed by the reality of motherhood. I cannot find that feeling anymore, she confessed, her voice trembling with honesty. I am really struggling with being a mom. Becky listened, caught between empathy and her own fears. You have money, she pointed out gently. Do you not have help? Andrea nodded, listing resources that should have made everything easier. And yet, it was still hard. It was still overwhelming. It was still human. You have no idea how lucky you are that you cannot, Andrea said suddenly, her words sharp with emotion. Becky stood there, absorbing the weight of that statement, unsure whether it was comfort or warning. The days moved forward, carrying with them small moments of humor and connection that made everything feel manageable. The chicken coop was built, not perfectly, but with enough care to make it meaningful. Cornflakes became real, her presence a reminder that even the simplest ideas could grow into something significant. At night, when the world quieted down, Becky found herself walking, thinking, trying to make sense of everything. Decisions felt heavier in the dark, as though they demanded more honesty. I think I made a decision, she said finally, her voice steady despite the uncertainty beneath it. I want to do that thing where I raise the baby with you guys. The offer had seemed like a solution, a way to share the burden, to create something stable out of uncertainty. But as she spoke the words aloud, she felt something shift inside her, something that did not quite settle. Later, in the quiet of her sister's home, the truth surfaced. I think I am going to be a terrible mom, Becky admitted, her voice breaking just enough to reveal how deeply she believed it. The fear was not just about money or logistics. It was about herself, about the parts of her she did not trust. Darlene listened, not with judgment, but with a steady kind of understanding that comes from knowing someone completely. You are stronger than you think you are, she said simply. The words were not dramatic, not overly comforting, but they carried weight because they were honest. Slowly, carefully, Becky began to see another possibility. Not an easy one, not a perfect one, but one that felt right. I am going to tell them I changed my mind, she said. I am going to keep the baby. The decision did not solve everything. It did not erase the fear or the uncertainty, but it gave her something solid to stand on, something that belonged to her. Back at the house, life continued with its usual mix of chaos and humor. The chickens clucked softly in the coop, unaware of the role they had played in bringing people together. Dan grumbled about the inconvenience, but there was a softness beneath it, a quiet acceptance that this was part of something larger. Family, in all its imperfect, complicated beauty, held everything together. It was not always easy. It was not always graceful, but it was there, steady and enduring, offering support in ways that did not always need to be spoken aloud. And in the end, that was enough. The afternoon light settled softly over the small town of Lanford, brushing the worn sidewalks and modest houses with a quiet warmth that made everything feel just a little more forgiving. Inside the familiar chaos of the Connor household, life carried on in its usual unpredictable rhythm, stitched together by humor, stubborn love, and the kind of resilience that did not ask for attention. Hello, everybody, Jackie called out as she stepped through the door, her voice carrying that unmistakable mix of enthusiasm and uncertainty, as if she was never quite sure whether she was interrupting or arriving exactly when she was needed. Dan looked up from his chair, squinting slightly. "Hang on. Jack. Haven't seen you in a while." Jackie brushed imaginary dust from her jacket and smiled, just a little too brightly. "You and Peter must be really hitting it off," Dan added, half teasing, half genuinely curious. Jackie waved a hand. "Actually, my days are free. You know Peter. He has classes in early European culture, and he is a falconer in training at the Renaissance Fair." Dan blinked slowly. "He wears tights." Jackie hesitated, then shrugged. "It threw me off at first, but now I kind of like it." "I do not get it," Dan muttered. "It is just people enjoying themselves," Jackie replied, though her tone suggested she was still trying to convince herself. Dan leaned back. "Looks like a bunch of smelly folks running around eating giant turkey legs." Jackie laughed, but there was a flicker of something deeper in her eyes, something that suggested she was searching for a place to belong, even if it came wrapped in something as strange as a fair full of costumed strangers. Before the moment could stretch too long, Dan picked up a letter from the table. Well, look at this. A letter from the city." Jackie leaned in. "I know what that is. Clean up your yard or they will do it for you." Dan tore it open, scanning quickly, then paused. "Nope. It is a permit." "For what?" Jackie asked. Dan smirked despite himself. "A backyard chicken coop." Jackie's face lit up instantly. "Oh, that is wonderful. That is exciting." Dan stared at her. "No, it is not." Jackie clasped her hands together. "Think about it. Fresh eggs. Healthy. Organic. And we will save money." Dan raised an eyebrow. "How big do you think our egg budget is?" Jackie ignored him, already imagining it. "It will be perfect. I will handle everything. Except building it," Dan said. Jackie smiled sweetly. "That part is yours." Life in the house rarely paused long enough for one idea to fully settle before another took its place. The kids came home, bringing with them the restless energy of school days and unfinished conversations. "Wouldn't it be amazing," Jackie announced, "if you had your very own chicken coop?" Mary's eyes widened. "We are getting chickens? I want that so bad," she added without hesitation. "What would you name your chicken?" Jackie asked gently. Mary did not even think. "Cornflakes." Jackie pressed a hand to her heart. "I already love her." Dan groaned quietly, but something in the room had already shifted. The idea had taken root. Meanwhile, across town, Becky sat at a small table, flipping through a magazine quiz with a furrowed brow. The questions felt less like curiosity and more like judgment. "Are you financially ready to start a family?" She let out a dry laugh. "Who is ever ready?" she murmured. Her thoughts spiraled quickly. Daycare. Insurance. Furniture. Unexpected expenses. The word unexpected alone felt like a threat. "I am completely unprepared," she whispered to herself. Across from her, a friend tried to lighten the mood. "Look at how much money you are saving by not drinking." Becky blinked. "How much do you think I used to drink?" There was a pause. "Maybe more than you thought." Becky leaned back, letting the truth settle in quietly. She had not had a drink in weeks. It had not been easy. It had been the hardest thing she had done in a long time. Later that day, at the bar where she worked, the familiar rhythm of serving drinks and exchanging small talk helped distract her, if only for a while. Then Andrea walked in, holding her baby, looking both radiant and exhausted. They talked. At first it was light, polite, careful. Then it shifted. Andrea admitted she was struggling. That motherhood was harder than she had imagined. That even with help, she felt overwhelmed. Becky listened, her heart tightening with every word. "You are lucky," Andrea said quietly. "You have no idea how lucky you are." Becky forced a smile, but something inside her shifted again. Later that night, she sat alone, staring at her reflection, her thoughts louder than the silence around her. "I am pregnant," she whispered. The words felt real and unreal at the same time. Days passed. The chicken coop was built, though not without complaints, arguments, and a surprising number of cat-related incidents. Cornflakes, the beloved chicken, became an unexpected center of attention. When she showed signs of stress, the entire household reacted as if it were a medical emergency. "She needs to stay inside," someone insisted. "The chicken is not living in the house," Dan replied firmly. But even he softened eventually, because that was what this family did. They resisted. They argued. And then they showed up anyway. At the same time, Becky faced a different kind of decision. Two women from her past, Bridget and Maria, approached her with an idea. They wanted to adopt her baby. Not completely. Not in the traditional sense. They wanted to raise the child together. At first, the idea felt impossible. Then it felt tempting. Then it felt like a solution. She said yes. But later that night, doubt crept in. She went to Darlene. It was late. The kind of late where honesty becomes unavoidable. "I think I am going to be a terrible mother," Becky admitted. Darlene listened. Really listened. "You are stronger than you think," she said finally. Becky shook her head. "I am scared I will mess everything up." Darlene took a breath. "Then we figure it out together." It was not a perfect answer. It was not a guarantee. But it was enough. By the end of the night, Becky made another decision. She would keep the baby. Not because she was ready, but because she was willing to try. The days that followed were not easier, but they were clearer. At the bar, when a customer crossed a line, Becky stood up for herself in a way she had not before. She walked away from something that no longer served her. She chose something better. And when she shared her decision with Bridget and Maria, they understood. There was no anger, only quiet support. Back at home, the chicken coop stood as a slightly crooked but deeply meaningful symbol of everything the family represented. It was not perfect. It was not planned well. But it was built with effort, humor, and love. And somehow, that made it enough. In a world that often demanded certainty, the Connors lived in the space in between. They made mistakes. They doubted themselves. They laughed when things fell apart. And they kept going. Because in the end, it was never about having everything figured out. It was about showing up. For each other. Every single day.